The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Anne Tommy.
Mr. Speaker, well, he's a nice young man, isn't he? And he's very earnest, and he's quite eloquent. Such a shame that he's so wrong. No, just so wrong. Actually, if you do a bit of research, if those members do a bit of research, there's very good evidence that actually this government have been fine managers of the economy during some of this country's toughest times. And I say to that member, I'd do it all again. I accept that we inherited an economy that had no debt, but every day I would do it again to borrow money to make sure we protected the most vulnerable in this country through the times of the GFC. There were no austerity cuts in this country. We defended the most vulnerable, and we certainly borrowed money to help the people of Canterbury and Christchurch rebuild their city, and I'd do it again every day. That's what governments are for, and that's why national governments are so good at managing the accounts. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk a little bit today about today's announcement because it is part of the radical overhaul that I announced earlier this year of child, youth and family, raising the age of care and support. The bills in the House, the Select Committee, have been considering it to raise the age of care from the 1 April next year from 17th birthday to the 18th birthday. That is to come into force from the time that the new Ministry for Vulnerable Children, Oranga Tamariki, comes into being. But we're going further than that, and I signalled that at the time I announced the overhaul. We are raising the age of care to 21 so that young people have the opportunity to continue on in their foster homes if that's what they wish, and have that fail-safe role that a parent provides. No parent sends their child off to training, to university or polytech at the age of 18 and says you're on your own. Well, the state has taken the responsibility of being a parent, and this government is determined that it will continue to do that. And of course, then by extending the opportunity for advice and support through to 25. Now, some people have said today after the announcement, well, why have you done that? Apart from the responsibility the state has as a parent, why have you done this? And the answer that I've given all day is because it makes sound financial sense. This government has talked a lot, and the Deputy Prime Minister talked today about social investment. Well, social investment is about improving the lives of New Zealanders by applying very rigorous and evidence-based investment practices to social services. That means using information and technology to better understand the people who need the public services, and just as importantly, to see what works. It is about putting the needs of people who rely on public services at the centre of all decisions that we make on planning, programs and resources. So what does that mean? Well, Mr. Speaker, the expert advisory panel looked at a cohort of young people who had experienced state care. By the age of 21, 90% of them were on a benefit. 25% of them were on a benefit with a child of their own, continuing the cycle. 80% didn't have the minimum qualification they need of NCA level 2, and 20% of them had already had a custodial sentence. That's the data that has been behind making a decision to invest in these young people's transition into adulthood, because we know that the effect on them of the trauma that they have suffered means that they are developmentally behind every other young person who's had the benefit of a safe and loving, stable home life. They need that investment up front, and it makes sense because it will save the taxpayer money further down the track. Mr. Speaker, that is social investment. That's what this government believes in, investing in young people using good data and good technology, and knowing that we will make a difference in those young people's lives.